Hi, everyone. Happy Saturday. Welcome to Insight Sports Talk with your host, Joanna Roselli. I am joined by Ed Cole, my amazing co host, alongside a special guest and amazing friend, Keith Pompey, our Philadelphia 76ers beat writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer. How are you guys?
Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, y'all. How y'all doing?
Good morning, Brother Keith from Philadelphia. Greetings from all the way here in Arizona. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
We are on a high, Keith, super high that's not going to come down from, I don't know, until when, to
Never.
be honest. uh, so, of course, that's referring to the Phoenix Suns going to the finals. They are waiting for their opponent. We may or may not know who that will be tonight between the Bucks and the Hawks. If that pattern continues, which we have seen, we'll get into that in a short little while. They may go on to a game 7, but we're just all very anxiously awaiting for the results out of that series.
Yeah, that should be a good one. I mean, you guys are. I mean, this is. It's funny. Like the Phoenix Suns are the talk of the NBA right now. People can't get enough of the Suns. They got a lot of great storylines. I think the best moment to me was when they clinched Game 7, and you saw Chris Paul hugging Monty Williams and how they were embracing and they kind of like hitting on each other a little bit. But it just tells you what this moment means to the both of them. And you're happy for both of them, but you're elated that both of them are experiencing this thing together,
And it's really cool, Keith, because obviously Monty and CP were together in Monty's maiden voyage in New Orleans, and for them to come full circle a decade later, and now they're in the NBA Finals, 4 wins away from the Suns' first ever World Championship, the first championship for both Monty and Chris. Obviously, it's just it's amazing how things do really come full circle in this business and in life. That it didn't start off rosy with Monty and CP in New Orleans. Of course, they butted heads, but now everything's all good. A decade later, they got a chance to win. They got a chance to hoist that Larry O'Brien trophy with 4 more victories. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is. And here's the thing about it. Both of them learned from that experience, as you said, but they're both leaders for this team. But this is a deeper team than people give them credit to be. I remember I was on here before talking to y'all, and I was like, okay, y'all talking about certain dudes. I don't know what they're going to do in the playoffs. And now I'm looking at it, and I'm like, it's like, is this really the playoffs? Because it's like they're dominating and attacking the moment. Like they grew up, and the thing about the Phoenix Suns, like you don't expect third and fourth or fifth year players, especially third year player in Andre Ayton, who hasn't like made the playoffs before, to be the center that everyone's talking about, being so productive. I mean, you look at Devin Booker. I mean, here's a guy, you look at him and, people talk about him dating a Kardashian. They talk about everything else. Here's a dude who has a broken nose and says, I'm taking this thing off. I'm still playing. It's like this team is showing a lot of grit, talent. Guys aren't afraid of the moment. And, the Phoenix Suns are the talk of the league, and they deserve to be the talk of the league.
And Joe and Keith, when you talk about Devin Booker, what really impresses me, outside of his amazing skills as a basketball player and at his early age, just 6 years into the league, the fact that he still continues to work out with his dad, Melvin, and Melvin is giving him tips, and he's continuing to make his son better because Melvin's done it. He's been in the league. He knows exactly what it takes to win and what these type of pressure situations are. So he's still teaming up with his son to continue to make him a better basketball player and a better man. I think that's one of the most impressive things about D-Book in his maturation as a man and as a basketball player, Keith.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, but I'm gonna just be honest with you. I did not. Now, last year they were in the bubble. And what I saw them. They played the Sixers inside the bubble. They looked great. But you kept saying to yourself, okay, but this isn't really like the playoff type setting. Even though they were great, they didn't make it to the playoff round. And I hate to be repetitive, but they are doing things that you're not supposed to do in the NBA. you're supposed to be afraid of the moment, right? I mean, here you are, you're the number 2 seed, and you open up against the Lakers, right? Now, there may be some people that's going to say, hey, people were injured, but still, you're the Lakers, you're the defending champion, right? You had injuries. Phoenix had injuries, right? Whatever, stuff happens, in the way they disposed of them. And then the same thing with the next round. I mean, the Phoenix Suns overcame a lot of adversity. Chris Paul gets COVID. When that happened, I'm telling friends, like, it's over for them. There's no way they can win this series. They won the series, again, with unlikely heroes stepping up and showing that this team is deeper and better than what a lot of people gave them credit for at the beginning of the season.
Yes. And then you said it, Keith, that Phoenix Suns were pretty much written off. And the other thing is they're doing things that no one's is doing or shouldn't be doing, or you wouldn't think of them doing. And that's what makes the Phoenix Suns the Phoenix Suns. If we look at them, not only this season, but in seasons past, especially when they're in the playoffs, and how they have evolved and changed the game of basketball, is what the Phoenix Suns do. They do things that no one else is doing. Others are too scared of doing. And that's what changes them. That's what gets them to where, going those pivotal moments and going on to that next level. And, they've just kind of been, okay, well, now look at us now, because they were written off during the season. They weren't expected to go into a postseason, much less the finals. Now they got everyone by surprise, and they're like, wow, like this team is legit.
Yeah. You're exactly right, and everyone's saying this team is legit. And while you were talking, it's one of those things where you think of basketball back in the day, right? You think of, you look at the history and you see, okay, let's look at the Chicago Bulls. Like, they had to go through certain teams in order for them to make it to that upper echelon. The Bulls had to go through Detroit, right? Detroit had to go through Boston and the Lakers. I mean, heck, come on. I mean, we're both from the Philly area. The Sixers had to go through Boston and the Lakers. The stuff that Phoenix Suns are doing is unprecedented, man. And I know I sound crazy, but keep saying it over and over again. But I'm in awe of the things that they're doing, right? But again, like the head of the snake, they got 2 of them. Like, it's like one of those snakes with 2 heads, right? Like, right. You got the coach and Monty, and then you have Chris Paul, who's like the leader that they all love and they all listen to. And think about it. Here's a guy who some people may say before the season, man, I don't know why would they take on that contract? He's old. He's not the same player that he is. And then also you get a lot of these young guys who are like, come on, man, you were playing when my dad was playing or something like that, like stuff like that, right? Or my brother told me about you. But yet and still, they listen to him. They look up to him. And it's funny, when they came to Philly this year, it was a couple months ago, of course, and they were in the layup line, and Chris Paul ran up and dunked the ball. And the way that all the guys rallied around him and he's laughing like, yeah, I still have it, this and that, and they're high-fiving him. I was like, this is a great group. Like, he's a leader. Like, he's a leader of men. He's leading these young guys, and they support him, and so when you get a guy like that who can give lottery picks, late first-round picks, other guys making, some of them starting to make money. When you can do stuff like that and get them to respond, but also have them look up to you like you're their big brother, that's saying a lot, man. And I'm telling you, I believe that the Phoenix Suns and are going to do right by these players, and we're going to see this team be around for a while. I mean, because, by the time Chris says he's done and he retires, whatever, Devin's still going to be in his prime. They're going to get some other people. It's going to be, like they say, that Spurs culture. I think that Monty and Chris Paul have developed the Suns culture. And then Booker, from what you hear, he's a hard worker. He gets on players. So now he has people backing him up to the point whereas he's already a leader, right? And he's going to continue that on. I don't think that this is a one and done for this team. I think that this team is going to be around for a while. I also think that we're starting to see the changing of the guards. You know, you look at these other teams like LeBron, you look at Golden State, you know, I could just name, you know, Steph and the rest of them. These guys are getting banged up. They're getting older. I think that, man, you know, it's time for Phoenix. I think it's Phoenix, Denver, the young teams. But you got to give the edge to Phoenix right now. This team is going to be around for a while. And I know y'all don't want to talk about future, but this is what I see, you know?
No, and it's true. And there was another interview that I just had previously. I have the Spanish podcast, Punto Deportivo, for our Spanish speakers who would like to listen to that. And I had Arturo Ochoa, who is the Spanish voice for the Phoenix Suns. And that's one of the things he said is looking into the future. One of the things with especially James Jones, that's, you know, preparing for that. And one of the things that have gotten the Suns to where they are now is they're doing exactly that and preparing. And also changing the way the small market teams too is Phoenix Suns is going to change that. And because we typically see the larger markets, you know, we have the Lakers or like San Antonio or Dallas and so forth. But now it's, you know, the way that the Phoenix Suns were able to go ahead and make the changes that they did, be able to go from an 8-0 bubble, not even making the playoffs, to making the finals now, and everything that the way that they have evolved in the small market and bringing the attention that they are and being in this grand stage. You know, all the smaller markets are now going to look at that and they're like, okay, what did they do? What can we get from that in order for us to do the same and get us to the next level? So it's a twofold process there that the Phoenix Suns and the way that they're changing basketball.
I agree. You know, the one thing that's funny to me is like, you know, people always say Phoenix is a small market, right? And it's true. You classify it as a small market. But when people say that, I'm like, dude, when the last time you've been to Phoenix? Like, you know what I mean? Right. They always say that. Like,
it's not small here.
Yeah. And then the thing is, you know, you guys live there. I mean, me being a person who travels everywhere, like I love getting off the plane and looking and seeing Camelback Mountain. You know what I mean? I love going to Scottsdale. Like I love, you know, going to Mill Avenue in Tempe, right? You know, I just love the area. Like, and, you know, I just do. Like, so when I get to the airport and you look at the sports town that it is, like, you know, let's face it, they have professional sports teams. You have ASU, Arizona State. I mean, you have, you know, the school that Jerry Colangelo helped with the basketball team. What's the name of that school? Oh, Grand Canyon.
Grand Canyon, yes.
Yeah, Grand Canyon. So, like, we hear this and, like, you know, they get that knock. But it's like, to me, you know, right about now, if I'm a basketball player and, you know, we're talking about the wintertime when you play basketball, it's not like the summertime in the desert. It's like, it's beautiful, man. It just is. And you know, I get it, but I always wondered why, like, everybody forgot that Phoenix was one of the fastest growing countries in the United States. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's just one of those, and it's you know, I don't know. I just like it. I like it. And I think that if I was a player, I would love to come to Phoenix and play for that team, play for the Suns. You know, I just would. I mean, now in the summertime, you better make sure that you got some really nice tenant cars. You got Central Air going on. You know, all that other stuff.
Yep. Yeah, we're going through that right now, Brother Keith.
I got you. But in the wintertime, but again, I know what you were saying. It's just, it always crazy. I always crack up when I hear like the national pundits say that, you know, about the Suns. Like, this isn't the 60s anymore, fellas. This isn't the 70s.
Yes. You know? And I think it's incredible that a decade or more between the last time they made the playoffs, 2010, to now, this was a barren wasteland as far as free agents were concerned. Yeah. Keith, who would want to come to play here when you're a perennial loser year in and year out? You would always get overlooked if you're talking about somebody coming to play for the Phoenix Suns. But now, with what they did last year in the bubble, with what these potential free agents are looking at this organization. You see James Jones as the GM. You see Robert Sarver as the general managing partner. He's taking that step back as opposed to being more hands-on and trying to do this, trying to be a marionette, trying to control the entire organization. So he knows he had to step back, give James Jones that role as the general manager, give him that kind of responsibility, and then you bring in Monty Williams to give him that responsibility as the head coach of the Phoenix Suns. And now people are starting to look at this organization in a different light, Keith. And okay, you bring in CP3, you bring in Jay Crowder, you bring in Torrey Craig at the mid season, and then all of a sudden now you talk about D Book, and you've got DeAndre Ayton, you've got Cam Payne, Cameron Johnson, you've got Mikal Bridges, one of the best defensive threats in the National Basketball Association. Oh, and the fact that they spent $250 million to upgrade their arena. Who would not want to come here now as a free agent? Who would not want to look at Phoenix as a viable destination right now, Keith?
Yeah, that's the thing, and especially winning. Winning does a lot, like you said, and you're bringing it in. And before, yes, you're right. The thing was, a lot of people kept saying, "Don't go there because the owner is going to be meddling. He's going to do everything." Well, and then when they got the new general manager, a lot of people were saying, well, maybe he's just going to be the figurehead. Nah, he's doing a great job. And let's talk about the coaching hire they made. It is a great destination right now. And I'm telling you, you can't beat it. You just can't. I mean, that's one of my favorite places. Like one of my top 3 places on the road to visit. Like I always like to get there a day early. You know what I mean? And then always want to take a late flight out, you know what I mean? And to take advantage of it. But you're right. Think about it. Like Chris Paul, I hear this story where he was on the phone with Michael Wilbon, and they were, talking. I got this story that their documentary or whatever they're working on, or a book. And he says, "Hey, you recommend a house for me in Scottsdale?" And Wilbon says to him, "Why would you want that?" And he said, "Think about it." And he's right. Like, dude, you have there's so many. You have Scottsdale, you have Mesa, you have all types of other places to go. So you could go tubing if you want to. You know what I mean? You can go to, what was it, Sedona? Is that what it is called?
Sedona, yes.
Yeah.
Sedona, yeah, with the Red Rock and all that. Yep. See, I'm telling you guys, I like it out there. So you can. It's like a hop, skip, and a jump. There's a lot to do. It's different from the Phoenix that, as I was a kid, and you would hear like, "Oh, it's nothing there to do." Nah, it's completely changed. And I'm telling you, I know we keep talking about it. I know they have to play the finals, but I don't think they're done. Like, I don't think that this is like, one of those fluky things where people say, "Oh, they got the genie in the bottle at the right time," right? You know what I mean? Everything is cool. Lightning in the bottle at the right time. I think that we're seeing something. And here's something else that I like to see. Did you ever notice how focused they are before the game? Like, let's talk about Monty Williams, right? I remember when the Sixers came there, and Monty and Doc Rivers are really good friends, right? Doc, he used to play for Doc, the whole nine, good friends. And the coaches go out there and everybody pregame. Typically, people stop, they shake hands, they do this. Monty was standing with the clipboard, going over plays and doing all this other stuff. Doc comes over, he's like, "Hey, Doc." And he kept doing what he was doing, right? You look at the players, there's a lot of guys, they're like, shaking other hands, talking, chatting with people. Well, they do that, but it's like minimal. It's not all that. We'll talk to you later. Mm-hmm. And I noticed every time I would watch them on television, it was always the same thing. Monty's there with the clipboard, said that to the coach. The other coach leaves, and the players are getting it in. They're not tight, but they're just focused. And that's the thing you like to see, man. Like, you like to see that. You can tell that there's a purpose with them, and that the focus, they're all on one goal. All on
one accord, right?
On accord, exactly. Thank you for saving me, brother. But they're all on one accord. So that's a great thing to see. And I mean, if I'm a Phoenix Suns fan, I'm extremely happy. I would be a little upset because the ticket price is probably going to go up next year. But
that's the price of doing business, Keith.
It is. And with that, we have our other amazing friend. He is the Sports K PLR joining us here, talking
Yeah.
some Suns and that evolution and how they're going in to the finals. How are you,
I see
PLR?
that this is a high rent district right now.
Oh,
I'm like, shoot.
brother Paul,
let
do
me.
you got your little buddy with you?
Oh,
You got your friend, your
Yeah,
new
you got your
friend.
friend with you? Huh?
You have
Where
to
is he?
introduce Keith to your new friend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, there's little buddy.
Oh, okay.
got my friend right here.
So how much did that cost you to buy? It's like,
Hey, hey, go Golden Knights basketball, stand up.
oh, for real. Congrats, my man.
That's great.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, congrats.
Appreciate it. Yeah, no, it stays close to me. You know, I hug it like this. We got a couple more trophies too. They're a little smaller. They went to the individual players, but you know, got the point for the club right here.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, PLR. We were talking Phoenix Suns are going to the finals. You know, you and I chatted a little bit about it yesterday on your show. But now let's flip the tables a little bit, you know, and see what you have to say about the Suns. And, you know, I know that you're like favorite team ever.
Do I respond to that exactly? The last part? I mean, you know, I'm
Like all of it. Come on, have to share your emotion, how you feel about the Suns.
okay. I'm very happy for the Suns. I mean, I've been covering this team for 11 years, so I'm extremely happy for what they've been able to accomplish. I can't just go favorite of all time yet because I mean I'm still a West Side Chicago guy. The Bulls are still, you know, planted in my heart, so I can't do that just yet. But I will say, I am truly a Suns fan. I'm very proud of what they did. I'm proud of James and Monty and Chris and Devin and all the dudes, especially Devin. I mean, not once did you ever hear that dude ask out. And let me tell you something. This wasn't the most pleasant place to be a few years ago. In fact, he said in his own interview and his own Zoom after, when, you know, he said, I've been through a lot of bullshit. That's a direct quote. That's not me making it up or saying it. Those are words from Devin Booker's mouth. So it's been a long task all the way through. But listen, I'm not just happy for them. I'm happy for the NBA, to be honest with you, because there comes a time where I got to phrase this just right. So I have to close my eyes, think about it. There comes a time where you got to stop guiding things towards the LeBrons and the KDs and the Stephs, because they're going to phase out, because Father Time catches with everybody. So as they phase out, if you don't start having these young guys shine on national stages where the world can get to know them, your product is going to suffer when these other people start to phase out. So it's good for the NBA that Devin and Trey and some of these young cats are actually where they are and balling out doing it, because it's not just me. Look at ratings. Last year there was a pandemic. Nobody could go anywhere. We were all stuck at home. So everybody had to watch something. Ratings this year are actually 30% higher than they were for the same basketball being played last year. No matter how much we want to say it or don't want to say it, sometimes certain players, it becomes fatigue, and you kind of stop wanting to watch them. And people can talk about who's the greatest, who's this, who's that. You know you're the greatest when Michael Jordan never got fatigued. No matter when he played, people watch. You either watched him because you loved him, or you watched him because you hated him. You wanted to see him win or lose. There's nobody else that has that same emotion. So you got to start to branch these new guys in. I'm happy for all these teams and the NBA in the direction that it's going.
And with that, I want to ask you guys, what is the key for the Suns going into the finals and facing whether it's the Hawks or whether it's the Bucks, in for them to go ahead and be able to bring that trophy home? I'll lead off with you, Keith.
I think they have to continue doing what they're doing. Like we talked about it a couple of minutes ago, before my man showed us his great trophy. We talked about how the focus they have, right? I mean, they have to stay focused. I think, a lot of times teams get tricked. They go into playoffs and they do stuff and they think that, okay, we got to adjust. I think the things that that Phoenix has done is, they're taking advantage of their strengths. They're not trying to be like any other team. You look at Aiden. Aiden's being a dominant force, big guy. He's different from every other big, right? So he's doing what he does, and that's working well. I think Chris Paul has to continue to be the leader that he is, find teammates. And I always know whenever they really need a big shot or guys are off, he steps up. And he looks like, oh, well, I didn't know Chris Paul could do that. Well, he did it 3 of the last 4 games. You need to wake up and understand what he can do. I think Devin Booker has to continue to attack. He has to continue to have that dog. And then you look at, you could go down like Bridges, be that 3-and-D, take that assignment, lock people down, and the other guys just make the shots. I think that if they continue to do what they have to do, but stay locked in that, make sure the moment isn't too big for them, they should be able to beat no matter who they're playing on the other side.
Go ahead, Brother Paul.
Okay, the one thing I'm going to say to that is I'm starting to get frustrated, to be honest with you, with national media. So the Suns, like Keith said, are fine. They're fine. They're doing what they're supposed to do. But I think what I'm getting tired of is, well, the Suns beat the Lakers because they didn't have Anthony Davis. The Suns beat the Nuggets because they didn't have Jamal Murray. The Suns beat the Clippers because they didn't have Kawhi Leonard. Maybe my memory is off, but Chris Paul didn't play. He got hurt in the Lakers series. He wasn't there for the first 2 games of the Nuggets series. of the Clippers series, and you could tell he wasn't right from that layoff from COVID for the first 2 games. So I'm getting kind of the national media slant on this. Look, the Suns beat the teams that were in front of them. Period. With their injuries, there was no Cam Johnson in that closeout game. So stop all that extra bull crap. Like Keith said, look, you got a center that wants to be a center. You got a point guard that wants to be a point guard. You got a 2 guard that wants to be a 2 guard. You got Mikal Bridges wants to be a 3. Listen, we keep talking this position basketball bullcrap. Teams that win titles, players have defined roles, and they know their roles, they accept their roles, and they excel in their roles. There's teams that have that position. Dallas has positionless basketball. They've been eliminated twice the last 2 years in the first round. You got to have roles. Guys got to know what they're expected to do, and then they can deliver on that. Can't keep moving pieces around over and over. Suns do that. They have a big man that wants to be a big man. Listen, there's only one other center in the playoffs right now that knows he's a center, and that's Clint Capella. He the only guy that rim runs and plays defense. When Giannis is in the game, Brook Lopez can't be a center. He has to drift out. And we saw what happens if you allow him to play his position. This isn't rocket science. This is basketball. But for whatever reason, everyone wants to reinvent this wheel. And the Phoenix Suns and Monty Williams said, hey, wheels on this car are just fine. We're going to drive this sucker all the way to the finals. And that's what they did.
Paul, on your point of contention for years with the Suns is that they got all youth. They did not get grown men like a Chris Paul or a Jay Crowder or a Torrey Craig. And the management, we know they've went through general managers and head coaches over this last decade, like turnstiles. They just churn them in and out. Keith, of course, you back in Philly, you see the changes that the Suns have been through with general managers and head coaches, but now they've got stability at the leadership position. They've got stability in every single phase of this basketball team. I love the mix of the youth with D-Book and DeAndre Ayton and Cam Payne and Cameron Johnson and all the younger people, Mikal Bridges. And then, of course, yes, you bring in Jay Crowder, a man who's got championship experience. You got Chris Paul, a first ballot Hall of Famer. You bring in Torrey Craig mid-season, an absolute bull of a basketball player, and this is all meshing and it's all coming together perfectly. Monty and James have mixed up a great 5-course meal. Remember, Joanna, a couple weeks ago on a show, we talked about a 5-course meal and how good a 5-course meal tastes. This is the Phoenix Suns right now. This is a smorgasbord of fine cuisine, appetizers, the main dish, the dessert, the after dessert meal, or whatever you want to have. This is what the Phoenix Suns have come together strong. And as you mentioned, Keith, continue to do what they're doing. Play good defense. Rely on continue to trust in the players, your brothers around you, because they will distribute the ball like nobody else. And that's what's great about them. You never know where it's going to come from with the Suns. Who's going to hit you across the head? Is it going to be CP with 30 of his 41 in the second half against the Clippers? Is it going to be D Book, who just takes you off the dribble or do whatever he wants to do? Is going to be DeAndre Ayton, who has 16 points, 17 rebounds. The man who's a force down low. Is it Jay Crowder, who's going to hit you with 5 of 9 from three-point range? And Mikal Bridges is going to lock you down defensively, as you mentioned, Keith. Or is it going to be Cam Payne off the bench? Or we hope Cam Johnson comes back from his non-COVID illness, so he's ready for the NBA Finals. So you never know where it's going to come from the Suns. And that confidence level is where the Suns have it all, and they believe in themselves, and that leadership from Monty and James, that is just that's something that you cannot put a price tag on.
Definitely not a price tag for that. So, but I want to go ahead and with what the type of team, you mentioned it, guys, that the Phoenix Suns are, and who they've been able to go ahead and bring in, and what they've been able to build. So not going to, creating a super team like we've seen in past years. We've seen this year, like with the Brooklyn Nets, and having that expectation that they're going to go ahead and take it all the way. No, we saw the Phoenix Suns doing just the opposite of that. And then they were able to go ahead and bring it all the way. Where do we see that super team, structure going? Is it now, okay, that's something that the Suns is changing, and okay, now they're going to go ahead and, not only smaller markets, okay, take off of that, but even the larger markets, hey, let's bring our, not bring in such large names. Let's go ahead and bring some of these other not so well-known names, but there are great players, and going away from creating those super teams.
Yeah, the funny thing about that, you could make an argument that the way that the Suns did it is they got 3 guys who when they all in their careers, all 3 of them have a possibility of being. I'm not going to say all 3 of them Hall of Famers, because I don't want to put that pressure on them, right? And Aiden, I don't know about him yet, but what I'm trying to tell you is that when you look at super teams and people are trying to build, you got the first overall pick in the center. I know it took him a couple of years to get going, to do what he's doing, but he was still the first overall pick, right? The first overall pick. You look at Booker. Booker was a late lottery pick, but this guy is phenomenal. Like I don't know how he's only played in 2 All-Stars. He got snubbed by 2 other All-Stars. And now you know how it goes. Once you become a star in the postseason, it's lights out. He's a perennial all-star now. And then he's going to start being all NBA. And then you have Chris Paul, right? Chris Paul's a Hall of Famer, right? I mean, so when it's all said and done, you can talk I think when people talk about these super teams, it's all like, okay, free agency. Let's go bring these guys in. Let's trade and draft. You got to give credit to the Suns front office right now, because they already had Booker, but they went out there and they got Aiden, when they could have easily said, let's go get Trae Young and let's get somebody else, right? They could have said, oh, we don't know about this guy. He's in Arizona. We don't know about his work ethic. And then not only that, they robbed the Sixers of 2 dudes. The two so Cam, right? Cam Johnson, brother went to Pitt. So I followed him. I graduated from Pitt. He goes to North Carolina. All we kept talking about, he would be a great fit for the Sixers, right? Like him and Matisse Thybulle, which one? The Phoenix Suns took and gambled and drafted him early. Everybody's like, what are they doing? We thought it was crazy. He looks good to me. right? And then you talk about Mikal Bridges, right? So, we all know what happened there. It was like the Sixers drafted him number 10. 38 minutes later, he's traded to Phoenix. Everyone in Philly are still fighting over that mad. So when we talk about a super team, you have to give this front office credit, identifying talent. The team was missing a dominant point guard. They brought him in. But I'm telling you, Chris Paul is older. But if he was a whole lot younger, people will be talking about that being one of the best young cores in the NBA right now, with the two role players going along with him. And I'm telling you, they did a phenomenal job. And this is an organization in the past who was known for messing up. And they did a phenomenal job. So when we talk about a big three, you're like, Aiden is going to grow. He's going to get better. Booker is going to be, he's already a household name. He wasn't before, but he is now, right? More so than just dating beautiful women, right? And then you got Chris Paul. That's a dominant three. They just don't get the credit that they deserve, if you ask me. They just don't, because all of them don't score a lot of points. You don't have to. But in my opinion, that's a dominant three. I don't call them a big three, but that's a dominant three.
PLR, you want to go ahead and jump in?
Yeah, I hate that term super team. I think that's some real bull crap, to be perfectly honest with you. Because if you go back to just basketball, history of basketball, every team has, for the most part, there's some exceptions like Houston when they won it with Dream or teams like that. But everyone has generally had superstars. The only reason they call it the super teams is because NBA players said, we're going to do this on our own without having GMs pick and choose who go where. Because you can't tell me the Lakers in the 80s with Magic and Worthy and Kareem and Byron Scott, if that's not a super team, I don't know what is. When Detroit had Joe Dumars and Isaiah and Mark Aguirre, Bill Laimbeer, that's a damn super team. But since the general manager put it together, then, there's no issues. We'll make it work. When players decide they want to do it, is, there's not enough basketballs. Well, the last time I checked the game, they played with one basketball forever. But the Celtics figured it out. Lakers figured it out. Pistons figured it out. Warriors figured it out. It's not about the amount of guys you get together. It's about the talents of those individuals willing, again, to do what? Define a role and play in that role. The reason why Golden State worked with KD is because KD is the most efficient superstar in the NBA. And if you need a bucket, you can go to him and get a bucket. Steph Curry moves without the ball and is a selfless superstar. Klay Thompson once scored 61 points on 13 dribbles. That's why that worked. And Draymond Green doesn't care if he shoots. So miss me with the super team. Listen, the Nets would have been fine. Kyrie accepted off the ball. James Harden accepted on the ball. KD was who he was. Spencer Dinwiddie would have came off the bench. Joe Harris could have hit a couple more shots. People accept roles. And when they do that, teams are good. Yes, the Suns, like Keith said, this could be a super team. The difference is it's more organic because the players were drafted with the addition of Chris Paul instead of adding all of them as free agents. But I get tired of hearing that because I want you to go back, like I said, outside of Akeem's dream team or the year Kawhi won, if we want to talk about injuries, because Golden State was hurt. So you tell me a team that didn't have talent. When he was in San Antonio, it was him, Ginobili, Duncan, Parker. That's not a damn super team. That's a super team. It was just done organically. So I think every team in the NBA will try to amass as much talent as possible. Some teams just can develop the talent, like Oklahoma City did when they had KD and Westbrook and Ibaka. Some teams can organically do it and develop their talent, and some teams just go out and get ready-made dudes. And it depends on the superstar you have. When you have a young Booker, you're not going to go out and try to bring in a dude that's going to outshine you're a young superstar that's growing. But if you have LeBron, you can't bring in a young dude and try to organically grow it with him because he's been in the league 36 years and he doesn't have the time for that type of organic growth to happen. He has to get ready-made guns. So it's all the same. We just dance it up and change the words to make it fit the narrative we want. But everyone needs a super team to win. You got to have 3 or 4 dudes. It's the way it works.
That's right, and we know it's a copycat league. So I'm sure a lot of teams are looking at the Phoenix Suns and the way that team was constructed, like as you mentioned, Keith and Paul, by draft and by free agency, and a strong general manager and a strong head coach who all work together in harmony and know exactly what they want and the talent level that they want in their teams and the type of character of men they want on their basketball teams. Not just some rabble rousers that just come in the roster and want to sit on the bench and get paid and not contribute and not be part of the brotherhood. That's not what this Phoenix Suns team is. That is not one single player on this roster that are like that. They all come together. Paul, as you mentioned, they all have defined roles. They know what they need to do to get 4 more wins and hoist that Larry O'Brien trophy at the end of the NBA Finals. And right now, they're locked in. So it is true. It's the way general managers and head coaches and an organization thinks they want to construct their basketball team. And for the Phoenix Suns, this is their mentality. This is their approach to building their basketball team. There's 29 other teams that can do it a myriad of different ways, but for the Phoenix Suns, it's worked for them right now. And again, in 4 more wins, they could create history getting their first world championship. And it's worked because of the way that they've went about building this basketball team.
Hey, quickly, Jay, because I gotta jump. The Suns are about to do their
Zoom,
but real quick,
yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Look at Atlanta. Just take a look at Atlanta. A lot of their players were going in a different direction until Nate McMillan took over that team. Trae Young was busy jacking shots from 47 feet all the time until Nate said, "Yo, man, take a look at your teammates' faces, bro. They don't like it when you just come down, don't even get them involved, and just launch." Look at Cam Reddish. People were on the verge of saying Cam Reddish may have been a bum. He may have been a bust. Cam Reddish didn't just remember how to play basketball all of a sudden. Look at Kevin Huerter. That was a good draft choice that a couple teams wanted to get him if he fell far enough. So you got, and Bogdanovich basically looked at Milwaukee and said, "I'd rather pump gas than go play with y'all. I want to go down to Atlanta." So it takes a lot of little things to come together. But if you look at the Atlanta Hawks, they put together a team with draft choices and then went out and got them a couple of free agents via trade or via signing. And they put a team together, and then they brought in a coach. They kind of did it backwards, but then they brought in a coach, or promoted a coach, I should say, that knew how to get all this talent to work. It's a lot. You can do it different ways, but the way that Nate McMillan did it works. Now, my man Budenholzer in Milwaukee, he's just lucking out. He just got a lot of talent. That cat couldn't coach. If me and my friend walked out and saw Budenholzer sitting on the bench with the 10U, I just look at my guys and say, "Hey, shoot, he ain't gonna make no adjustments. We got this. We're about to get trophy number 2." So he's winning just because he's got so much talent. He can't mess it up. But most of these cats have been coached up to where they were. Y'all can laugh, but that cat is not he is not a playoff coach. He is a regular season cat, just like Mike D'Antoni. They are regular season coaches. They do a great job at getting a bunch of wins until that fire get hot, and he has that look. That look on his face he get. Y'all remember that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger when everybody was living on Mars and the oxygen hit them and they were holding their neck?
Recall. Yes.
That's the way Budenholzer look every time something go bad. Like he just ready to grip his neck. Go, every time. Kill me with that.
Another walk-off from Paul. Another walk-off.
That's my man, dude. Total recall. Jay trying not to laugh. She knows it's the truth. You know, he look like he ready to grab
she's never seen Total Recall.
She's seen Total Recall.
She has not. If she's seen Total Recall, why did she not see New Jack City? Huh?
I don't know, but everybody saw Total Recall. Y'all remember? Hey, everybody remember before they hit that generator and Arnold Schwarzenegger got saved at the end? My man's eyes were like that big. Boy, tell me that ain't Puno.
That's Bud.
Look, I bet you he is an uncredited actor in that movie. And he was natural too. He didn't even have to, they were like, man, your makeup is good. He's like, I didn't go to makeup yet. That's him, dude. I'm telling you. Hey, listen, y'all. I appreciate y'all having me as usual. Sorry, I got to jump, but Monty's about to.
Monty's going to
talk to us.
Thank you. Appreciate
right,
it.
brother.
All right,
all right, now
brother.
I'll catch up with y'all.
All right, brother.
Thank you. See you later. Now. Oh, don't forget the Cave Show every day, Monday through Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Sportscave.com, K with a K. Thank you. Later.
Gotta make sure you get that in there.
Oh, gosh, man.
Oh my gosh, he's too much. I think my cheeks are hurting from all that laughing.
I know. Goodness, what would I do come up with next?
But I know we're coming here in the last few minutes of the show, but before we move on to our next segment, I want to go ahead and touch a little bit on the Hawks and the Bucks, which they face off tonight. They are 3-2 right now, with Bucks leading. If I remember correctly, my screen just went off.
Yep, we have 3-2. Mm-hmm.
And then so we see, there's a pattern here. Keith and I were talking about it before the show, and you have, one wins, and then they lose. We have the other team winning. It's like a pattern. It's on and off, on and off. So do we continue with that pattern tonight and go on to a game 7, or do we see the Bucks closing it out tonight? And who would be the best matchup for the Suns to face off in the finals? I know I have my guess and my preference, but let me go ahead and lead it off with you, Keith.
I think, we were talking about it earlier, and, I think Atlanta will win. Typically, at first I was unsure, but typically the losing team typically comes out with a lot of fire and a lot of energy. And I think that they're going to feed off of that from their home crowd. One thing that we're noticing, that we're seeing in this series, like you expect in the playoffs, typically your role players tend to play better at home, right? The crowd is there. They feel more comfortable. So I think that we'll see that, right? I think that we'll see the Hawks win this game. Now, who do I think is going to win the overall series? I got to go with Milwaukee. Who do I prefer to see? I would love to see Milwaukee in there against Phoenix. I think that for TV, you have Giannis, you have Chris Middleton, you have Chris Paul, Book. I think that I really like that. Now, as much as Trae Young has been on fire, I just think that I would like to see them play the Milwaukee Bucks. I think that the nation would like to see them play Milwaukee Bucks, right? But so that those are my opinions or my answers to your question.
For me, I'll agree with you, Keith. I was initially going to go with Milwaukee to win tonight, but what Milwaukee Bucks team are we going to see tonight? As Reggie Miller always says on the TNT broadcast, can what they did the other night, can that performance travel to Atlanta? Can they recreate or come close to what they were able to do in Game 5 and pull that off in Atlanta? That's going to be tough. Which Chris Middleton are we going to see? Can Robin Lopez recreate? Can he do another 33-point outburst that he did the other night with Giannis, he's ruled out tonight. So Giannis is out. So there will be no Antetokounmpo tonight. So that'll be just another par for the course. He wasn't there in Game 5, wasn't there for the majority of the second half of Game 4 after he hyperextended his knee. So they know Giannis is going to be there. So will Jrue Holiday step up again? Can Bobby Portis step up and have another big game like he had in Game 5? Can all of these pieces come together? Can that starting 5 do what they did in Game 5 and Game 6? If they can't, then I would like Atlanta's choices much better. As you mentioned, Keith, I do like the Hawks' chances at home because it's amazing that advantage at State Farm Arena, and you were there for the series with the Sixers. You know how incredible of an atmosphere it is down there in Atlanta. And if Middleton's not hitting the shots and Jrue Holiday is struggling and Lopez can't get off like he did the other night, like he did it in the first period, down in the paint to do whatever he needs to do to get points for them, then I think it's going to be Atlanta. It may be another route down there.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Oh, and who I would like in the finals. I guess I forgot that part. I guess I should put that part in. Like you, Keith, I would like to see Milwaukee. I would love to see Giannis come back because that would be a great series. And even if Atlanta made it and say Trey comes back, Trey Young and John Collins and the talent they have there, Capella and Herter and Gallinari, it's a different level of talent. It's a different look of a basketball team. And I think they match up better because they're kind of equal basketball teams, the Hawks and the Suns, from as far as a size standpoint and how they run their offenses and their defenses. But I would like to see Giannis finally make the NBA Finals because that would be some compelling basketball to see what Giannis can do. Can Giannis, if it's Giannis, can Jay Crowder cover him? Is DeAndre Ayton game enough to take on Giannis when he comes down in the paint, when he decides he doesn't want to shoot threes and he doesn't want to finesse the ball, Keith? When he decides he wants to be a dominant force, then who's going to stop him?
Yeah. I mean, that, and you're right. That is a great matchup. Seeing Jay Crowder guard him, and then see who, and then seeing Drew Holiday trying to defend Chris Paul, or maybe you may have to put him on Book. But I think that that would be a compelling matchup. I mean, nothing against the Hawks. Again, I like the Hawks, but I always think that I'm always rooting for this series that I think is going to be the most competitive, especially in the finals. Because I want them all to go 7 games. You know what I mean? I do, because after that, it gets a little boring when basketball season is over to me. You know what I mean? In the summertime. So,
well, I think you just hit Joanne in her heart. You said baseball is boring. Let me pull up.
I didn't say that. I just said for me, like when now here's the difference between baseball to me. You got to realize the Phillies are struggling. Their bullpen, I can't watch them because every time I turn on the game, the bullpen's blowing the lead, right? But the thing is, baseball, I don't really like watching baseball on television either. Like, I think going to a baseball game is the best atmosphere around because you could have 5 people. 3 of them could be laughing and joking, 2 of them paying attention to the game, but then they all come together and have a good time. Everybody hears the crack of the bat. They hear the crowd. They know that, like, it's not like you're going to miss a home run. They hear the crack of the bat and looks up. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that for family friendly with me, I love going to baseball games. Now, watching the Phillies on television is a different story because half the time it's like they're getting blown out. So they're talking about other things aside from baseball. They're talking about, yeah, man, you made the All-Star game. Like literally they had a cake out there and they gave John Kruk a cake because it was his 30th anniversary of the first All-Star game that he made. Now we're missing strikes and balls, but we're seeing them eating cake. You know what I mean? So for me personally, that's why I get a little bored, when I'm not at a baseball game.
Yeah, no, we're good. No hurt feelings here. So no, it's all good. But now I lost my train of thought, Ed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
But no, it's all good. But with going back to what we have with the Hawks and the Bucks coming up, I do not want. Well, he's talking Game 7. Do not want Suns going to Game 7, but I think this is going to go to a Game 7. I would like to see, and yes, I'm all for the better matchups when it comes to the playoffs, especially the finals. And that's seeing the Bucks and the Suns face it off. You guys pretty much said it all and summed it up. I don't know if that I can add anything more to it. With what you guys have said. And that would be make some great basketball, great finals, and talk about ratings. You got it there with those two. If they're with either one, whether it's the Hawks or the Bucks. So I know I'll be in front of my TV later tonight. Finding out who's gonna win in tonight's game and whether we have what's it called, a rival for the Suns to go out and face the finals, but. How many games do you give to have a finals winner, and who will be holding that trophy? So let me go ahead and give Keith some time. He's thinking. Ed, I'll go ahead and kick it off with you. How many games?
I'm gonna keep Keith in the big picture. I like to see him pontificate on that, so I'm gonna keep the little picture. There's my graphic. Okay, Keith, keep thinking. Everybody wants to see you think. What was the question again, Joe?
How many games do you think
games?
the game will be decided? The finals.
Oh, the NBA finals.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to say Suns in 6. Yeah, whether it's Milwaukee or Atlanta, the Suns are going to get it in 6. This is a team of destiny. They've come this far. I don't think they will not be denied. Keith, you mentioned how laser focused they are, how laser focused their head coach is. The entire organization, they've got one goal clearly, as 29 other teams do. But the Suns are one of 2 teams that have the opportunity to win a championship, and they know at this point there's no turning back. They've gotten this far. They've got 4 more wins to go. They're not going to slow down right now. I think the Suns in 6, whoever it is.
Yeah, I can see that too. I can see that too. The only thing is, it's something about, and like we said, the Suns are laser focused. If they play the Hawks, they better be laser focused for Game 4, because it just seems like, teams are going in Atlanta, and I don't know what it is, but teams are losing Game 4 in Atlanta because it's one of those things where you're there for 2 days or 3 days, maybe, whatever in between games. And something about players in Atlanta is just too many distractions. And, I think that if the Suns do go there, if they win Game 4, they got it in 6 or maybe even 5, closer, right? But if they lose it, I think is going 6 or 7.
Because is this still 2-2-1-1-1? Is that the format for the final?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, that's what it is. And like the thing is,
home court advantage.
Okay.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like, just Atlanta is just, I don't know, it's just crazy now. I mean, not in a negative way, but it's just known for a place where young millionaire basketball players love to go to.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot, to do, and they have to be extremely laser focused, as we said. But, I just think if they played Atlanta, that they would lose Game 4. Now who knows? Chris Paul, Monty Williams, Devin Book, who's a leader, they may try to say, nah, guys, after we win and we go home for the parade, let's take a team trip to Atlanta, right? Team vacation and we party. But
yeah, let's go to some establishments, right?
Yeah. But I think, I just think that they just have to be focused. But yeah, I could see 6 games.
Yeah, I think that I would love to see them win at 5.
Mm-hmm.
Is my opinion, because that would be the best case scenario for the Suns. I see them winning it in 6. Okay, because we have, like you mentioned, they have to win that Game 4. They need to, especially they have to win those away games. I can give them, okay, maybe losing 1, but giving it 5. But if they lose that one pivotal game, that can set the tone, and they have to, yes, maintain that laser focus. I don't want the Suns to get that comfortableness and see a repeat of what happened with LA when they should have won and they didn't, and now you're having to play another game. But one of the things too with the Phoenix Suns, they do tend, and what we've seen in the playoffs, go ahead and they've been advancing away. They haven't been being able to go ahead and close that out. What's up with Denver? That was 4 games, but even then, advancing away. So I think they were doing better on the road on that end than they are at home. It would be phenomenal. It would be amazing for them to go ahead and win that finals and have that trophy here at home and not having to, travel. But, we see a pattern. But they cannot go to Game 7. They need to win it over early, whether it's Game 5, Game 6, Game 7. It's cutting it a little bit too close for comfort.
Yes. Yeah, we talked about how tough it would have been if the Clippers would have won Game 6 and the Suns would not have wanted to come back here to Phoenix Suns Arena for Game 7, because all bets are off in Game 7, Keith. That's territory you do not want to go down.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with both of y'all.
Oh, they will make it for an exciting game, but I do not want to be sweating bullets. Ed will know how about we'll get if that happens.
He'll be a nervous wreck from Game 1 to Game 7. It'll get progressively worse for her.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he has experience with that. So, but before we go, I'm sorry.
Gonzaga.
Yes, Gonzaga.
Yeah.
That's no, I don't want to. I don't want to go down that memory lane. Someone tried to bring it up. I'm like, no.
Why did I bring it up?
Do that. But with that, we'll have to come to an end and wrap up the show, guys. We'd love to keep talking finals and talk Suns and some more Hawks and Bucks, but we will have another show on Tuesday, bringing more NBA talk, more finals, and by then, hopefully, we will have, may or may not have, or we should have, the Suns' opponent for the finals. So
yeah, because if it's Game 7's on Monday.
Yeah, so I'm thinking holiday and all this other stuff. My bad. But anywho, Keith, let everyone know where they can go ahead and find your work, how they can go ahead and get a hold of you, and that awesome article that you wrote as well.
Oh, thank you. You can follow me on Twitter at Pompey on Sixers. You can listen to my podcast wherever you can download podcasts at. The podcast name is Locked On 76ers. And also, you can read my stuff on Enquirer.com. Enquire with an I.
And what's your newest article about, Keith?
Well, my newest article was basically what I did is I wrote about the 76ers process, and I call it the process of failure, right? And basically, I said the Phoenix Suns and the Atlanta Hawks are proving that you don't have to tank all those years to get where you are. They both went through rebuilding processes. And you look at it, right now, they're further ahead than the Sixers, like in regards to, like where they are. We both made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, Suns in the finals. And I talked about how the Sixers are salary cap wise. I talked about how, they tanked for all these years. And right now, Joel Embiid is the only dominant, definite player that they have on their roster. So, they're going to trade Ben Simmons. So I basically pinpointed this is where the Sixers are. And then I went back and documented how they got to where they were with a lot of the bad trades. One of them to the Phoenix Suns, Mikal Bridges. So you guys can read that article on Enquirer.com. It's just giving an inside look on the process and why I considered it a failure.
All right. I know Ed will be very interested in reading into that article, given our previous conversations regarding failures.
Yes.
However, we will not get into that.
Yeah.
So we will both have different opinions on that, but we will go ahead and circle back to that at a later time, Ed. But let everyone know where they can go ahead and find you.
Of course, right here on Inside Sports Talk, on Brother PLR show, The Sports Cave, on Twitter at EdCole43, on Instagram at EdwardCole301, and Facebook, Edward Cole. Back to you, Joe.
Okay. Thank you. You can go ahead and find me, Joanna Rosalie, on both Instagram and Twitter at JRosalie. That's JROSALYE. And you can find Inside Sports Network on Instagram at Inside Sports Net and on Twitter at Inside Sports, an extra S at the end. Make sure you go visit our website, insidesports.net, and download from wherever it is that you do listen to podcasts for Inside Sports Talk. And our newest podcast, Spanish Sports Podcast, Punto Deportivo, coming to you every single week on Saturdays. And with that, we leave you. Thank you for tuning in and listening in. This was Inside Sports Talk.